This is me, a chronic oversleeper. Unfortunately, even in 2024, sleeping still won't turn my dream life into reality. So, in hopes of bettering my life, starting with the most basic thing that affects my whole day, my morning routine, I turned to Andrew Huberman. Huberman doesn't need much introduction, but just in case you've been living under a rock for the past 3-4 years, he's a neuroscientist, aka a really smart guy, and a professor at Stanford University, aka a really smart guy, again, who pretty much just tells people like you and me how to live your life based on science. Quite frankly, I'd put him up there with the world's best creations such as ChatGPT, pizza, and freebies, because who doesn't love free stuff? For the next 7 days, I will be forcing myself out of bed at 6:30 a.m., which, believe it or not, is quite early for me. On the first day, it was pretty hard to convince myself to get up. I started to think that I could start this routine tomorrow instead, and just such thoughts of procrastination. But once I got up and moving, the energy started flowing, and I actually felt surprisingly at peace. Also, it's interesting to note that because Huberman says that he too wakes up around 6 to 6:30 a.m., we could be drinking our salt water together at the same time. Which brings us to the morning glass of ocean water. Or you could simply call it water with salt. Honestly, this didn't taste as bad as I expected. It was kind of gooey and tasted of nothingness. It was unpleasant, but wasn't absolutely unbearable. Then Huberman recommends getting some sunlight exposure so that you can remember you're not actually a fish. This is preferably done outside for 10 to 30 minutes within 1 hour of waking up, which honestly was already a habit of mine since I got to walk this little monster. The fourth step in his morning routine is getting in some exercise or movement. I started the week strong with some running, but unfortunately the weather turned on me and it was storming and flooding like crazy, so I actually opted for working out indoors instead, which on some of the days meant doing a Pilates workout. On other days, I tried doing a heat workout, and then one of the days I actually also considered cleaning as my workout for the day. After that came cold exposure, and now for the actually hard part, taking a cold shower. Oh my goodness, here goes nothing. Which is probably the part most people are the most scared of. But as somebody with a history of surviving the cold winters of Estonia and having enjoyed jumping into the snow or a cold plunge after a hot sauna as a child, I thought this part would be a piece of cake for me.
It's honestly not as bad as I thought. I know my shower isn't the coldest. It's honestly the coldest the moment I turn it on and jump in. But now it's actually it's still chilly, but it's starting to warm up. So it's not as bad as I thought. I don't know if this is enough, but I feel like I could stand here forever.
Regardless, it's actually really, really hard to convince yourselves to not think and jump, or walk if you prefer, into the cold shower. But honestly, the getting in is the hardest part. But once that's over, the whole experience is actually kind of enjoyable for some weird reason. I think it's just because it feels so great to have overcome such a great challenge, a task that felt so difficult and that you felt a lot of resistance to. So even though this part of the morning routine was quite hard in the sense of convincing your brain that it was going to be okay, it was actually also one of my favorite parts of the morning routine. And then the next not so torturous step would be doing 90 minutes of deep work. This was another favorite part of this morning routine for me because it just felt so satisfying getting work done early in the morning, feeling like you've accomplished something huge, and it just made me feel so productive for the rest of the day. However, this part also turned out to be one of the hardest parts for the reason that I just seemed to get distracted by the other activities on my to-do list while doing my deep work. So half of the times I actually cut my deep work sessions in half. And that's what we will be repeating for the next couple of days. However, on day 3, problems started to occur. It's day 3. I went to sleep late yesterday, so the urge to oversleep is so strong. And then the same thing happened the next day. It's honestly so hard to get out of bed at 6:30. I want to punch the alarm in the morning and sleep in, and I just feel so tired. The pull, the gravitation to stay in the bed is so strong. I went to sleep at an alright time, but I'm still tired today in the morning, and I feel like that's the hardest part for me, that I wake up, I still feel kind of tired, and maybe that's how you're supposed to feel when you wake up, because once I get out of bed and I get moving, I feel okay. But that moment in the bed when my alarm goes off and I'm just feeling like, oh, so sleepy, and just like, this frustration that my sleeping time is over, because my favorite hobby is sleeping. And I'm just starting to think like, am I gonna have to do this for the rest of my life? You know, like if I'm gonna actually commit to this Huberman morning routine, I'm gonna have to wake up at 6:30 a.m. every single morning for the rest of my life, and thus I'm gonna have to start going through the same like pool to stay in bed and sleep in every single morning. Or is my body eventually going to adapt and get used to it? Am I going to start waking up without an alarm? You know, that's a good question. Like, am I going to start waking up actually rested? Because right now it's so hard to get up, and I don't know if I can do that for the rest of my life. But I suppose technically I could, because the moment I get up and moving, the tiredness goes away, but it's hard to convince myself to get up. So I realized I got a bit of a problem. For this routine to work out, I also need to consider my nighttime habits. So my husband and I decided to enforce a winding down period from 8 p.m. in the evenings. That meant no more screens after 8, turning down the lights, lowering the temperature in the apartment, and doing some relaxing activities such as reading or journaling. And it actually worked. But that same night, I wasn't able to go to sleep on time again because of a family gathering, and it showed the next day. I slept in again, not too much, like 30 minutes, but still I slept in. So what did we learn from all this? Go to sleep on time. And the winding down routine helps a ton. Plus also I discovered mouth taping was really useful for me, because I would actually wake up way more rested the next day. Good morning, it's day 7. We did it. Time to get up. Seems like I managed to get myself out to run. It's been a couple days that it's been flooding, so I've been trying to exercise indoors instead. But it honestly feels quite good to run right now. I was feeling a bit nervous before, but it feels like this rest period was necessary for my body, because I'm faster now, I feel better now. So continuing my run. Time for the last cold shower of the week. Why am I actually kind of enjoying this a bit? Like, the challenge of it is so nice. Not too bad. Deprivation is a beautiful thing, I've heard. So if, as an example, you commit to taking only cold showers, then taking the warm ones eventually will feel so much more rewarding, so much more special. You'll get so much more joy out of it. So I try to tell myself that this is the fun part. And it really is. It's a fun challenge. It's fun to see what you're capable of. So I actually just finished with my last 90-minute deep work block for this week. So that concludes the week's worth of trying Andrew Huberman's morning routine. I honestly feel like I really like this routine. I feel like it's a very basic routine that you can individually add to, but it gives like a good groundwork or foundation that you can work with. So I do feel like I'm definitely going to continue with the salt water intake, which honestly I don't think I noticed much difference from it, but hey, if it's meant to be good for you, and it's not that hard to drink some salt water in the morning, so I'll definitely continue with that and see if I feel any better. Sunlight exposure is something I already do on an everyday basis anyway, so that's going to continue. I am hoping to catch some sunrises in the upcoming week though, because unfortunately this week it was so stormy and flooding like every single day, and then one day when I could have seen a little bit of a sunrise, I slept in. As for the exercise part, it's already my goal to try to get some movement in every morning. And the cold showers, as funny as it is, I actually kind of enjoy them. It's a hard challenge to complete, but once you're in there and once you get through it, you just feel so accomplished. So I'm definitely going to continue with that as well. And the last step of this morning routine, which was getting in some deep work, I absolutely loved it. So that's definitely something I also want to add to my routine. However, as I already mentioned, I did feel like this routine was a very basic routine that everybody can continue to build upon. So I think I'll definitely have to be experimenting a little bit with what works for me, what things I would like to add. There were times throughout this week that I felt like I'd like to have a reading block in the routine, or I would like to have like an organization morning quick cleanup period, or perhaps even an NSDR after the working block just to kind of reset. But at the same time, I also don't want to be making this morning routine way too long where it feels like, okay, this is actually going to take hours and consume my whole day, because then it starts becoming too overwhelming. If I'm being honest, this morning routine did take me quite a while, because I would be waking up at 6:30 a.m. and then I think I would finish with my deep work on average at around like 11 a.m. So that's a couple hours right there, and I don't want to risk making my morning routine too long where I feel like I can't sustainably perform it anymore. So like I mentioned, I think I'm gonna have to experiment with this a little bit. But if you are also currently struggling with your routines, or you're trying to just build new habits and get your life together, I would recommend trying this out. It's a pretty good groundwork for your day, and honestly the morning sets the tone for the entire day, so it's definitely worth trying to get your morning routine in check. But I also noticed throughout this week that I personally at least also need to work on my nighttime routine, because if I do everything during the night to make sure that I get the best sleep possible and go to sleep on time, then the chances of me waking up on time and actually feeling rested are much higher. So everything is kind of tied together a bit, but I suppose you gotta start somewhere. So I do encourage you to try this out for yourself if you are interested. So that's all I have for you for this week. Thank you so much if you've already subscribed. My channel has grown quite a bunch since the last video I uploaded, and I'm so grateful for that. I never in a million years expected that to happen. So again, a big thank you to you for taking your time to watch my videos. It really does mean a lot. You guys are helping to make my dream come true. I've been working on this for 4 years already, and it's been really hard to not give up at times, but that's just the reality of content creation. And I'm so grateful again to each and every one of you who comes and watches my videos, who decides to subscribe. You guys are helping out so much, and I hope that you're enjoying my videos. I hope that I'm able to bring some motivation, some encouragement into your life, or at least just, you know, brighten your day a little bit. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if so, please consider liking and subscribing so that this video can be pushed out to more people, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.